Welcome to Hobby with Ollie, where today's episode is about libraries and sadness. My name's Ollie. I've decided to paint up a bunch of Lamenters with exactly the kind of sad and unlucky outcomes that you might expect. For example, I thought that this week's episode was going to be about painting an entire combat patrol of vibrant yellow Marines. They got primed, they got base-coated yellow. The yellow looked awful, they got stripped. The models started disintegrating in the biostrip, which has literally never happened to me before using biostrip. The Lamenters wept at another week of remaining unpainted. However, there was one Marine who escaped this cruel fate, who spends all his time shushing neophytes rather than actually getting into combat, the Terminator Librarian. Librarians for the Space Marines are traditionally painted blue, and yet I decided to paint this guy yellow. This is mostly because I got overexcited about underpainting while doing the yellow Marines, and there's a method going around at the moment which is quite common to do sort of a pink underspray with a zenithal white highlight in order to paint yellow armour. So I thought, what if I change the colours around and maybe a sort of yellow undertone will work? Yes, a part of me genuinely believed that a yellow undercoat underneath blue might look good. So here's me spraying the model green with my dark blue paint before adding so many layers that the yellow is completely covered. If anyone does have any ideas for underpainting for a more saturated blue, or if you know a reason why blue doesn't take very well to underpainting, let me know down in the comments, because clearly I can't be trusted. However, I do trust you to hit the subscribe button if you are enjoying the content and want to see what I get up to, as well as hitting the like button if you're enjoying the video so far. Then YouTube knows that you like it, YouTube likes me, and therefore they're more likely to show my nonsense to other people here on the internet. I continued layering up lighter and lighter shades of blue until this librarian's uniform was looking swish, though I couldn't find his name badge or his knitted jumper anywhere in the box. Onto the paintbrush, and for this I wanted to start with the most interesting detail on this whole model. His tactical rock. I decided to give it as much time as it deserved using the following detailed process. I painted it grey. Onto the real painting with some panel lining, I tried a few different black wash potentials. Since Games Workshop recently changed their recipe for non-oil, it doesn't have the kind of deep black that I'm looking for when I'm painting those recesses. I tried out a few different methods, including Vallejo black glaze, which wasn't great, and I ended up mixing black in with the non-oil. This way I get the flowing benefits of the non-oil as well as the dark black of the Vallejo acrylic. Nice. The actually really interesting thing about this model is that it's got all these engravings and carvings of runes all across the armour, which I will be highlighting at the other end of the colour spectrum with white. If you saw my brain bug painting video, you can click on that in the top right hand corner if you haven't seen it already, you'll have seen me use capillary action to get the paint to flow into the recesses. Add water to the surface, wipe it off the flat surfaces, and then take a small brush with thin white paint and poke it into one of the runic markings. This paint then flows off like magic, moving down all the lines on the model. It's really, really cool actually. The next step was using the same method, but this time with a light blue. This helps to give some variety and show the pulsing glow emanating from this guy. He's pretty energized for a librarian. I don't personally remember my school librarian pulsating with psychic energy, but it was quite a long time ago. Let's block in some more details. Metals like the belt buckle were coated with Vallejo gunmetal. Still waiting on that Vallejo gunmetal sponsorship. Someone make it happen, Mr. Vallejo. I then used German grey to block out the webbing between the armour panels, nothing too exotic as the blue is where I really want to keep people's attention. Speaking of the blue, a few key highlights with medium blue from Vallejo help to keep it distinct from those runic carvings where I've used a much lighter shade. Now onto the source of 1,000 displeased scowls and impatient tuts, the face of the librarian. This got a coat of Bugman's Glow to establish the base colour. Sometimes I'll start from a darker colour, but as he's encased in his psychic hood, I'm not spending too long on this detail. I next shaded with Reichland Flesh Shade, focusing this beneath his cheekbones, in the eye sockets, and in any other furrows or lines on the face. I added some off-white to the Bugman's Glow for highlights on the nose and cheekbones, and with the off-white on the palette, it's time for painting the eyes. Steady the hand, and success. I then just used a little bit of Reichland Flesh Shade just to make a really clear distinction between the eye socket and the eyeball. I used some of this off-white as well to give him a little beard, adding Reichland Flesh Shade to blend it in with the face. Onto all the pipes and various other details across the model. I used a neutral grey as once again I don't want to distract from the armour, highlighting this with added off-white. You haven't signed out those books, you whippersnappers! Now, as we all know, if there's one thing librarians love, it's bling. Vallejo brass is next for gold detail, mostly skulls. Yep, lots and lots of skulls. Because of all the overdue book sign-ins from his fellow Space Marines, this librarian has actually developed psychic foresight, allowing him to see which of his battle brothers will actually be handing their books in on time. Here's an example of what a librarian might see looking at Philip. Yeah, don't think so, mate. On the model, this will be represented by glowing eyes using the same colour palette as the armour panel recesses. It took me a few goes before I got an effect I was happy with, reapplying Bugman's glow and the lighter skin colour with the added off-white until it looked right. On the home stretch now, and what good librarian doesn't carry around a series of scrolls and books in order to keep himself entertained on long space voyages? I based the scrolls with off-white mixed with dark sand, and the wax seals with Vallejo red. He's carrying some sort of forbidden tome, probably Mama Librarian's secret home recipes, which I base coated with a purple-black mix. I reinforced the blue lines across this book, as well as painting the clasps and straps. Finally, for the base paints, the axe handle got a coat of black, and the crux terminatus got based with a neutral grey. I shaded the grey and silver parts with the Nuln Oil black mix, and highlighted the silver parts with gunmetal mixed with Vallejo silver. All the gold parts got a layer of Reichland flesh shade to really help to bring out the details. They were then highlighted back up with a bit more gold on upraised areas. The last shade in this trifecta of recess filling was Seraphim Sepia for all the parchments and wax seals. I used my favourite, micro pens, to draw on the script for these. Probably a list of expired library card holders, and then I did a few little highlights with off-white. I also added off-white to the red for the wax seals to make a pink highlight colour for them. As this guy is going into the Lamenter's army, I followed the following steps for his shoulder pad. Seriously though, if you are interested, I go into more detail about how I'm painting up my Lamenter's shoulder pads in any of the other Lamenter's videos. I'll link them in the description down below. A few last bits like the axe head using the same colours as the armour, and a quick base, and this librarian is ready to look over the rim of his spectacles at the horrifying psychic abominations of the Empyrean. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you have enjoyed it and you'd like to support the channel, probably the best way you can do that is to keep watching my videos here on YouTube and like and share them with your friends. However, if you want to support me more directly, I've also got an affiliate link to Element Games in the description down below. They sell products at a discount compared with Games Workshop, and if you make any purchases through that link, I will get a small kickback on anything you purchase at no additional cost to you. It really helps out a lot with the channel. In the meantime, my name has been Ollie. This has been my hobby, and I'll see you next time.
So, Philip, if I asked you, what do you think a Space Marine librarian does?
Make sure that everyone's silent on the battlefield. Aggressively go kill the Tyranid.